Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I am delighted to be joined by Lynelle White with her fantastic episodic multi-series City Kitties. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at a clip.
I am happy to have a friend like you. I'm excited to see what we can do. I think you're pretty, I think your hair is great. So tell me secrets and help me clean my plate.
Lynelle, big virtual hug from here. Thank you for bringing your films to us at New Filmmakers LA. But for those that haven't seen your amazing series, which you need to tell everyone where to find it too, tell us a brief synopsis about the series.
So City Kitties is a web series, and it's 52 separate episodes, and they're all probably about 2 minutes to 3 minutes in length each episode. So you could watch one while you're standing in line somewhere. It's really digestible in that short format. But each episode deals with two women who have experienced something in their day, and now they've come home to their apartment and they're trying to process what happened. Either they come from a party or they've come from some sort of event or saw a wedding or something that they're trying to wrestle with the ramifications of that event. And it's all female produced, cast. We had post-production, and the composer was a woman also. We had just a female crew from top to bottom, which was great. And it brought a different energy to the set.
Listen, for someone that grew up around women, that brings tears to my eyes and makes me so happy, because I'm so glad, because there are so many amazing, talented people in front and behind camera. Before we even get into the inspiration of that, definitely, I prefer being around women myself, but definitely, was that a really great feeling as an energy on set? Just, you know what I mean? Like, was that it feel very different from being at other sets? Because it must feel magical in a way.
Yeah, it was just sort of a lighter environment. Everyone just sort of walked in and it was instantly comfortable. I noticed it right away, especially with the actresses. When they walked in, it wasn't just like some guy shoving a mic in their face or shoving them towards makeup, whatever. Everything was really comfortable and easy. It was just a different energy. I can't even really explain it, other than it was just maybe a less hierarchical energy.
Yeah.
Right. It was a little bit more like, we're all a team. We're all trying to make this project together. Everyone is valued and important. And I'm not saying that predominantly male sets don't always do this too, but I just know that it was just a different, and there wasn't as, not as much bickering and squabbling about stuff. I mean, of course I'm the director and I'm going to talk to the DP about stuff. And this is how I want it, whatever. So not that everything was lackadaisical, but it was just, I noticed right away with the actresses when they came in, they just sort of felt like, some of them even saw, just this exhale once they were, sitting in the green room getting ready to shoot. And the other thing we were really big on was communication. Just like, hey, we're running a little behind, or hey, we'll be ready for you in a few minutes, or it was just a different atmosphere. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll say this: some people have pointed out to me and they said, "Oh, you went out of your way to find a female DP. You went out of your way to find, a female composer." I was like, you don't have to go out of your way to find these people. These people are amongst us. They're everywhere. The two producers, Lauren Curry and Ellen Stevies, they found me because they went to a film festival, an outdoor film festival here in a part of LA that's called Silver Lake. And so they saw a previous short film that I directed and they said, oh, hey, we want to bring you in on this project. So you just never know where screening somewhere is going to lead, but we're out there, and it's not hard to find us if you're looking.
Exactly. There's so many amazing, talented women out there, and men listen, for goodness sake, and understand that, I think it is such an important thing. I think communication is such an important thing in creating a brilliant atmosphere and environment for your set, and for you as a director as well. You're leading the way with that. I love these stories. I love these stories about these, friendships, and there's just so many more wonderful elements that I think experience between from a female to a female, and how they talk about certain things that go on in their life that men, tend to find hard to talk about. And it was so great just to get into this, relationships between these different characters. Where did inspiration come from in this series, and how did you? I mean, obviously you became a part of it, but you've actually filmed quite a few episodes yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the inspiration, the producers kind of thought of this idea of, and not necessarily always female friendships, or females in some sort of relationship to one another, and them having to, and we wanted something, and they wanted something, I think, where you could sort of shoot in a weekend. If you have a contained location, if you get someone's apartment, then you can shoot several episodes in different
Mm-hmm.
parts of an apartment, which is what we did.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the producers actually solicited women from all over the world to submit their 2-minute short film scripts, and they sent them in, and then so they sort of picked the 52 that they wanted to produce, one of which ended up being animated also.
Oh wow.
So we had 51 live action and I believe one animated. All the episodes are available on YouTube if you search for City Kitties. But the inspiration came from the women out there. I mean, because they were given, to my understanding, was 2 female characters, and they return home from somewhere and they're dealing with an event, and something, either it's a breakup like we had in Luster's Pink, or
Yeah.
it's or there's a bucket list kind of conversation that they're talking about. Like, they're all wrestling with different things.
So I'm always really excited when I watch a film that's not a snippet of a life, and I'm like captivated in it, and I'm like, and then you leave me like, I want more, please,
Yeah.
And I just thought it was just wonderful that these scripts were so good, but also for you as a director, like, how you were doing, what was it, 5 in one? You were doing 5
Yeah.
in one day, was that right?
Right. So I directed 10 of the 52, and there were
Yeah.
several directors. And so I shot all 10 in one weekend, 5 on a Saturday, 5 on a Sunday. So it didn't give you a lot of time for each particular episode. I couldn't spend 6 hours shooting, one episode. So I had to really manage the time and also look at it. I approached it, because my background is in television. I'm a television writer. I approached it the way I've seen episodic TV directors come in to do an episode of TV. They come in for like 10 days, and they get the script, and they've got to sort of figure out, what shots do I want? What shots do I need? So I approached it in terms of, I'm not going to be able to do sort of these glamorous dolly shots and sort of things that take a long time to set up. I've got a minimum amount of time. I've got to work efficiently. And I don't want to waste the actors' time, just they're all sitting, and then, because they'll start to get backed up. If you're still on the first episode, by the time you should be shooting the third, you've got a problem. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of approached it like, what coverage do I need? And I had a plan for each one going in. I'd scouted the location. We shot all these in one apartment, and we just used different areas of it.
The same apartment.
The same apartment. We just dressed different corners of it in different ways. And we used a bedroom for Luster's Pink. We used sort of an office type area that we made for Bucket List. And then what's the other one? I'm blanking. Bedtime. That was kind of all over, but we changed the producers were also the prop masters and the set designers. So they would change things all around. When I was maybe in between the films, I would go sit and talk with the actors on, hey, here are the pages. What do you think? How do you want to do this? How do you want to approach this? And here's what I think. And some of them have backstories and help all things sort of created. I think, it's a weird web series in terms of, one episode doesn't lead to the next episode. There's a few that are like 2-parters, but in general, it's like you see these 2 characters and then you don't see them again. It's more of an anthology type thing.
Yes.
Getting just a slice of life, and then we move on to the next slice, to the next slice.
Listen, it's honored to have you as part of with us at NewFilmmakers LA, and it was particularly special because everybody in this particular program was a veteran and served this country, and it was so special to have you part of that, and thank you for your wonderful service. I can't quite get my head around that you're a talented pilot, and then you're also a talented TV writer. Like, it's amazing. Where was that journey for you in going into TV writing? How did that move in that direction for you?
Yeah, that was a Cinderella story. I tell everyone, this is not a normal story. I'd gotten off active duty. I'd been a pilot in the Air Force for about 9 years, and I just felt like I wanted to do something more creative, but I wasn't quite sure what. I always loved film and TV. I was bothering my coworkers. I'd be in the cockpit talking about hey, have you seen Brokeback Mountain? Have you seen this movie called Lars and the Real Girl? Like I was really into that indie art house scene. And I'm talking about all
Yeah.
these movies and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. So I was like, okay, I'm into some different type stuff and I need to sort of explore that. And I was living in St. Louis of all places, because that's where my Air Force assignment was. And I just started writing and directing little short films. One of which was like two people in an elevator. Two people, like a guy and a girl get stuck in an elevator, and it was all silent, but you kind of got that they were sort of connecting and forming a relationship, and maybe they would date afterwards, but there was no dialogue or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I started with these really simple projects, and then there was a TV writer. His name is Ken Lezebnik. I owe him for my career. He was from the Missouri area. He did a 2-week filmmaking workshop just for women in Columbia, Missouri. There's a place there called Stevens College. And, I went to that 2-week filmmaking workshop, and, what we were doing was we were learning how to, behave on set. We had brought a few of his Hollywood friends out to the middle of Missouri to sort of teach us like lighting and gaffing and, directing and script supervising. And so we shot a pilot of his, like we helped him shoot it. That pilot that had been sort of, dead to the industry, but he was like, yeah, I want to shoot this thing and it'll be a good experiment for these women to learn. And so Ken Lezebnik, years later, he remembered me and he said, I just finished working on this show called Army Wives. They lost a woman writer. With your background in the military, I'm going to recommend they talk to you and read your samples. And so that's really how it started. So I made a connection in Missouri that then led to out here in LA. It's very strange.
Love it. That's so great. Oh, well, yeah. How lucky the industry is to have you. That's amazing. And it's that's really wonderful. I mean, I think it's great that you've taken on this amazing journey as a TV writer, and it stemmed from, where your career started. I think that's a lovely flow into how things have evolved for you. What is next for you now?
I don't know. I mean, one of the things I'm really obsessed with is, as a female veteran, is getting more stories out there about women veterans, because we have The American Sniper and we have Platoon and we have, all these films about the male experience, but we don't have anything about women. So that's sort of my, the hill I'll die on, if you will, in terms of sort of pushing more stories about women veterans, because I'll be honest with you, you guys did this lovely, In Focus Veterans programming for this month. Next month, November 11th is Veterans Day. And it's a tricky day for me, because if I walk around with my Air Force hat on and like my Air Force shirt on, even on Veterans Day, no one says Happy Veterans Day to me, because they just sort of assume that you're the spouse or you're the sister or you're the, you're not actually the service member. So we still have these barriers in terms of perception of women that we are serving in the military, that we're not, that we're out there. So that's one of the things I push hard on, is I have a couple scripts that are about women in the military, both past and present. And I'm writing a feature script also. But in terms of directing, I really want to explore the COVID crisis and how it affected a Black family. Yeah. Specifically. And because I read this really gut-wrenching article in Washington Post about this Black family that was living out of their Subaru Outback, because the two parents worked at Disney World and Disney World shut down, and they were homeless. And so the kids were trying to do their school on their phones, like with Wi-Fi from, McDonald's. And I mean, they were having to exist, for several days out of their car, a whole family of 4. It was just astounding. But I was like, that's what's going to get lost. Like, as we, eventually come out of this, it's the stories of, the unfortunately, the people who are hit hardest the most, the minority communities,
100%,
the communities on certain end of the economic spectrum. Like those stories will get lost, and we'll talk about oh my goodness, so and so invented the vaccine, everything was great. It's like, well, no, people are hurting.
People are hurt. No, I'm glad you're bridging focus on that. Really, we can't let these stories be lost. They need to be heard, because people are going through a lot, and I'm so glad that you'll continue to shine a light on that as well. I'm just so curious, like, you know, for you as a person, what you've accomplished thus far in your career and the direction that your career has taken, which is so amazing. Is there any advice out there that you could give to any, you know, filmmakers that you kind of go by? It's important to you in your path and your journey, you know, as a creative person.
Surround yourself with people who support you. And by that, I don't mean that everything you put in front of them, like if there's scripts I put in front of people and they're like, this isn't working and here's why. I mean, that's not the kind of support I'm talking about, like this blind support. I'm talking about people who get the, you know, get what you're trying to do and will either like, you know, recommend you for a job. Like, hey, I hear, you know, you might be right for something going on at Sony, or you might be right for something at Warner Brothers, like that sort of thing. Like let's all collectively sort of help each other. Definitely. And we can all rise together. Unfortunately, what happens is it becomes a little bit competitive where we think, well, if I get the job, you know, I've got to get the job so someone else to get the job. It's like, no, let's try and help each other out and be collaborative and be supportive. Because I operate under this thing called, because I'm a pilot, we have this thing called the big sky theory, meaning there's so much sky out there, there's room for all of us. You know, we could all just keep flying around and never impact each other at all. So don't think that it's like it's a finite resource. It's pretty infinite. We just have to, you know, not be so. And it's harder with, I've noticed it with diverse writers and writers of color. It's like we feel like, well, they're only going to hire one person and we have to like stab each other in the back to get it. And it's like, well, you know, so I think like find your tribe and find people who support you and would work on your projects together. I had a short film I did. It was two people riding around in an Uber all day, but I had a veteran friend of mine who helped me, you know, who drove the minivan all day. And I had some friends from UCLA who helped me shoot it. So you just have to like find your people who get you and want to get on board with what you're doing.
Oh, Lynelle, you're such an inspiration. Honestly, it's so inspiring talking to you. You really do hit the nail on the head with so many different things as well, you know, and it is, there is, you know, there is space for everybody. There really is, you know, it's really hard when you feel like, you know, there's maybe only one person can get the job, but, you know, we got to change a lot of things in this industry. And I love that the work you're doing, you know, you're breaking down doors, you're knocking down barriers, you know, taking away some of the things that have, you know, held this industry back for years in its way of thinking. And I'm so glad that you're moving us forward as well. So thank you very much, Lynelle. I'm excited for your future, and thanks for being part of NewFilmmakers LA, and keep making more movies for us, please.
Thank you so much, Danny. I enjoyed talking to you.